Hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we would be discussing strings in detail. So let's get started. In the current window, I am just printing out a common statement that is actually a string and that shows that we would be performing some string operations today. So let's declare a string that is in variable a and we say that we have a string with text Python coding. So we know that it has a string class. If I type its type, then it would return a string class. Now I would show you how many operations that we can run on this statement. For example, there are different indexing operations, there are different slicing operations, and we can get the length and different details about this string as well. So to start, I would like to tell you that in Python, the indexing begins from 0 and it then counts a number. So for example, if our string has 5 elements, then it would be indexed from 0 to 4. So if I want to print the first element for the string A, then what would I do? I would just simply write print and then A, and for indexing we would be using scare brackets, and now just run it and you would see that it would return P because it was at the index 0. So always remember, in case of Python, the indexing always starts from 0 till the length. So now if I want to print the length of my string A, then I would use a function in Python called length and it would take the variable for string. So if I run the code now, then it would print the number of characters that are present in my string, that is Python coding, including the space. So now I would show you how to slice the string. For example, if I want to get specific characters for from H in Python to D in coding. So I would show you now that, and if I use print, and similarly my string variable that was A, and for indexing again we would use scare brackets, and let's write some random numbers from 2 to 5, and let's see what it would return to our output window. So it returns THO because T was at index 2 and O was at index 5. But remember, it would not include the last one. In this case, 5 was omitted. So you have to remember this. So always remember, when you are setting the start and end point in case of string indexing, the final value is omitted and it would stop at the position previous to that value. In our case, it started from 2 and it ended at 4. So therefore we had only 3 elements. Now I would show you how to use the colon operator in case of string indexing. So for example, if I use the print statement again and I use my string variable a, and then again for indexing I would use scare brackets and I put colon and then any index, what would it show? So let's print out and check it. What it gives it that it starts from the beginning and it terminates at position 3. As I told you, 3 would not be included, so it would again be 0, 1 and 2. 0 was for P and Y was for 1 and T was for position 2. So it terminates there. And if I use it in reverse, what would happen? So I would again use the string variable, and for indexing I would use my scare brackets again, and then I would use colon operator. So what would it do? It would start from 3 position and then it would terminate at the end. So in our case, it started from H because H was at third position because the indexing started from position 0. In this case, the start position was actual that we defined. But in the opposite case here, if I talk about this, then this position is not counted. So remember always this while indexing in strings. So to recap, I can write that whenever I use the indexing like from A to B, then what does it mean? It means that A would always be counted while the indexing would terminate at B minus 1. It means that it would terminate on the letter previous to that position. In our case, if it was 3, then it would terminate at 2, and in this case, it would terminate at 4. So strings also have negative indexes. For example, if we start from the left, it would start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But what if I use the negative indexes for printing my strings? Then I would show you what happened. For example, I want to print in reverse order. So I would start from -5 and then I would go to -2. What would happen here? We can run it. I would show it to you. Now it has returned me three values O, D, I. And why it is so? Because I was at position -2 and O was at position -4. So that means our Python string, if we start from here, G was at 0, then -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. And as I showed here, it would be complete reversal. For that means it would start from -2 and it would terminate at -4, like what we were doing in the positive indexing. So that means on the left one would be included, but the string would terminate at 1 less than the index on the right. So it's completely opposite when we are index traversing from left to right and right to left. So always keep that in mind. So another example with the left indexing would be to print uh, a portion of our string, and again we would use the square brackets and say it starts from -3 and it terminates at the end. So if I run this, what would happen? My string would start from the end and it would terminate at the position -2. That was I. And then you can see that even if I use the reverse indexing and negative indexing, it would still be the same. But the point that you should remember is that when we are dealing with the positive indexes, for example here, it would terminate one previous to that. But when we are dealing with the reverse indexing, then on the left we would terminate at one previous to the left one. So that is the case and you should remember it. This is something hard to remember, but if we do some practice, then it would get resolved. So I guess it would be the end of today's tutorial for strings, and in the next video we would be discussing using loops and if statements for strings. So if you are new to our channel, then click on the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. And happy learning. See you in the next video.